stripes are off. There we go.
Hello
Great.
and welcome to Divinely Empowered. Today we have the lovely Ann Swanson. She is an author. She's written 2 books that you may know her for. The first one is The Science of Yoga, which is her old book, which is a bestseller. Her more recent book is Meditation for the Real World. She's a meditation teacher and she's going to tell us all about the benefits, the neuroscience and the benefits behind meditation and the wonders it can do for everybody. So welcome, Ann.
Hello. So nice to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's dive into it. Tell us all of your wisdom.
Well, I find that, a lot of people know meditation is good for you, but they don't really know why, or they feel like it's not for them. So we've all heard, top CEOs and masters and neuroscientists are all meditating. So what's the secret? So it's good for your brain. It's going to help preserve gray tissue matter in order to help you basically have a younger acting brain. So as we age, our brains degrade. They get smaller, literally. Like my 99-year-old grandpa, his brain is smaller than it was when he was my age, right? And especially it gets smaller in critical areas, like having to do with focus and memory. And when we meditate, we preserve those exact same areas, those areas that help us to have better emotional regulation, to concentrate better, to have better memory. We can even improve our memory as we age. So, good for your brain, good for your mental health also. And then meditation is good for, we could break down every system of the body. It improves your immunity, helping you have less sick days at work, helps you with stress management. It also helps your heart. Some of the most profound benefits are for your cardiovascular system, helping you to lower your blood pressure and improve your heart rate variability, as well as reducing your risk of heart disease. So I could really break down every single system of the body and how meditation is good for you. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview, but it's going to bleed into every aspect of your life. You're going to improve your relationships, you're going to sleep better, and you'll see these profound differences in how you think and feel, right?
Wonderful. So let's start with the brain then. So tell us more about the benefits that it has to our brain and preserving our gray matter.
Yes. So we want to preserve our gray matter to counteract the effects of aging, but also to counteract the effects of anxiety, depression, lack of sleep, trauma. All of those things also degrade those critical areas of the brain. So the good news is you can rebuild them. And as short as 8 weeks of meditation has been shown to physically change your brain. Well, we don't only have these physical changes in our brain, which are quite profound, but we also have chemical and electrical changes in the brain. And sometimes they're in the moment, instant brain state changes. So when you meditate, and we can do like a 1 minute meditation in a few minutes to experience it for ourselves, immediately you change into a brain state that's different. Your brain network activity changes. Your brain waves change from, right now we're talking or you're listening, conversing. That is beta brainwave activity. We go into alpha brainwave activity, which is relaxation. But meditation actually has been shown to bring us into all the brainwave activities, the ones having to do with deep sleep, delta. We can even reach that while we're meditating and get some of the benefits of sleep. Theta waves having to do with creativity, typically seen in children. So we can get into these different brain states. And then we have these chemical releases when we meditate. We release endorphins. Those are those feel good chemicals. They're endogenous morphine. So it's also a natural pain reliever when we meditate. We improve our balance of serotonin, the happy chemical, balance of dopamine, and you're going to find that your hormonal balance over time improves. Basically, it's going to help you with stress management. And when we take off the load off our systems, everything becomes easier for our bodies to process naturally and to be as healthy as optimally possible.
Wonderful. Should we do a 1 minute meditation then? And we can go into some more information as well. Let's see how it's
Yes.
done.
Let's experience it for ourselves. And I always tell people, a 1 minute meditation counts. As you see on the cover of Meditation for the Real World, there's
Mm.
a woman on a subway or bus, and she's sitting and she looks chill. She's got her headphones on. She's sitting tall. She's grounded. Everybody around her is hunched over their cell phones, their computers. They're scrolling while they wait. Rather than scrolling, meditate while you wait. You can integrate these 1 minute meditations through your day. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't have time for this, you have a minute. So let's do a little practice right now. This one is easy to remember. You'd read it in the book and then you'd have it memorized to be able to do it on your own. It is the five senses meditation. All you have to know is your five senses. So we'll start with eyes wide open. And if you're driving or walking or something, your eyes are going to stay wide open. You can still do this. Okay. So eyes wide open. And if you're able to look out a window or look far away, so you're not looking at a screen, look into something expansive. Both our brains and our eyes like to have that expansive vision, that soft gaze. So take a moment and allow your gaze to soften, taking in the lights and colors, textures. And then, only optional, if it's safe and you want to do so, you can close your eyes. You totally don't have to meditate. But even then, you'll see shapes and colors and lights as you bring your awareness inward and notice the sounds around you, from far away to up close, even my voice, perhaps the sound of your own breath. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Notice any smells. And then exhale slowly. Taste any taste. And then you'll feel your physical body. Notice perhaps you feel like sitting up taller or moving, stretching a little bit. Listen to your body do what you need in this moment. Notice the signals your body's sending you internally, that wisdom within. Pay attention. And now let's take in all the senses at once. Notice what you feel, taste, smell, hear. If your eyes are closed, flutter your eyelashes to let light in and notice what you see. Bringing in all five senses simultaneously, bringing this new sense of awareness with you as you continue to listen to our conversation. Notice the results. You might have noticed that your heart rate lowered. You might have noticed that your breath rate slowed. Your blood pressure actually lowered in this moment. And that brainwave activity, that endorphin release is all happening. Observe the physiological effects. And how do you feel, Antonia?
Nice and relaxed. Fantastic. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's a
And
beautiful
that
thing.
is actually the first meditation in the meditation challenge. That's a gift to your listeners. It says on the bottom, contact Ann at meditationfortherealworld.com, it should say. And that's where you can get the longer version of that five senses meditation, as well as other meditations over 5 days in a meditation challenge. So go to meditationfortherealworld.com for that.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay. So when you meditate, do you go other places? Do you sort of astral travel or do anything sort of slightly out of yourself as well? Or do you normally
Some
stay in your body?
Sometimes the focus can be internal and what's here and now. That's the most popular style of meditation is mindfulness, right? That's a technique that
Hmm.
we use, and that's paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. So
Mm-hmm.
you're observing your breath, the body sensations, the sounds, whatever's going on in this moment, and full radical acceptance of it, just being there with it. And so that technique is really, really common. That's probably the most common style. We could also repeat a word over and over and over again, a mantra or
Mm-hmm.
phrase, an affirmation, something that makes you feel good. I am strong, or just the word peace. And a lot of the research, they use literally just the word one, one, which I think is so profound because we're truly one with all. So it's really any phrase or word that works for you. And then some techniques are visualization. So you may visualize being at the beach or walking down a path or something that's, as you said, kind of outside of you. You may visualize going somewhere, and that's a visualization technique. So there are many different techniques in meditation. I have a chart that breaks them down in meditation for the real world so that you could see that it's not just one type. And I think that's really important because a lot of people feel like, I've tried meditation before and it didn't work for me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
probably just because the type you tried didn't work for you, right? It's not a one size fits all. We want to find the right meditation for you, but also for the situation you're in, right? That I would give a very different meditation to somebody that's dealing with depression or loss of a loved one than I would for somebody that's really anxious and tending to pass out in overwhelming situations, right? Totally different meditation for when you're trying to fall asleep versus when you're trying to wake up and focus and get into flow state. So that's what this book is all about. It's a handbook for those life situations. I'm going to flip through and find, okay, I've been scrolling a lot today and I've been dealing with FOMO. And so there's a meditation for FOMO in there. There's a meditation for
Mm.
each situation that you may be dealing with.
Great. So, quietening the mind. A lot of people have this idea that they need to be living in having a completely silent mind to be able to
Mm,
meditate. Do you subscribe to that?
absolutely not. That is not what meditation is. So let me tell you, and I'll integrate the neuroscience if you're interested,
Yes, please.
the process of meditation. So, first, you're given that focal point, like I just described, whether it's your body awareness, the five senses we just went through, the word you repeat, whatever the teacher gives you that you're supposed to be focusing on. Second step of meditation, and people don't realize this, second step is your mind is going to wander. It's inevitable. That's the second step of meditation. It happens to the most advanced of meditators. So we go into the brain activity that is called the default mode network. And that's our default. I mean, humans are natural mind wandering machines. We're constantly scanning for threats, making sure everything's okay. So it's actually to keep you safe. So you're like, oh man, why did I say that thing 10 years ago? Is Susie still mad at me? Right? The craziest thoughts pop in your head, but it's really just your brain trying to keep you safe. What am I going to eat later? All these sort of thoughts. Completely natural. It's the second step. Third step is critical because this doesn't happen during the day when we're mind wandering. The third step is that we notice we're mind wandering. We notice, oh, wait, I
Mhm.
was supposed to be on that focal point and I'm off right now. I'm thinking about, this what I'm going to do next Tuesday right now. That's not my breath. So what am I doing? So you're going to notice. And you go into this network activity in your brain called the salience network, and it determines if something's salient or important. So, is what I'm going to do next Tuesday important right now? No. Is the smell of smoke and the fire alarm important? Yes. Abandon meditation, get out of the house. But if it's not important, we are going to do the critical step, which is redirecting back to your focal point. And so you're training your brain to come back to this focal point. And then you're going into what's called the central executive network activity. This is when your brain is high and large and in charge, focusing, you are concentrating, you're compassionate, you're connected, you're in flow. This is what we want more often, right? So you're training your brain to be able to notice when you're off from that and coming back. That's what meditation is. It's not only being on that focal point all the time or or else we'd just be perfect. Even the most advanced meditators have that process they go through.
So do you have a very chatty mind, or is it quieting down?
Well, I always say I teach busy people with busy minds because I was one of the busiest people with the busiest minds. I'm a recovering perfectionist, type A type of personality, and very driven. And so, yes, my mind goes to worries. Anxiety was really my issue. And now, well, in the past, anxiety would take over to the point where I would pass out in the most inopportune situations. It would
Really?
take over my
Narcolepsy?
life. Yeah, it was very intense. And now anxiety's in the back seat. It's not driving the car anymore. It's not making my decisions. It's not holding me back. So it's made a huge difference with my anxiety. And it over time you get better at that process of redirecting. So you do become more focused, but every day is different. Some days I have that time when my, busy monkey mind comes and plays, and it is just overwhelming. And those days it's kind of like when you're forcing yourself to go to the gym in the morning, right? You wake up, you're like, I'm going to go to the gym or run. You have this desire. And some days you hop out of bed and you're ready to go. Some days you have to force yourself and drag yourself, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go. Maybe I just won't go to this class, but you go anyways. Even if you totally do a half job on that workout, don't you feel like so accomplished afterwards? You're like, yes, I did it. Against all odds, I did it. That's what those busy mind days are like when I meditate. It's like, okay, obviously I'm really distracted today. I'm dealing with a lot of things going on in my life, and my mind keeps going back to them. So I
Mm.
really needed this. This is the day where I'm going to feel afterwards like, oh, I needed this.
Because I've got a technique which quietens the monkey mind,
Mhm. What's that?
which is I've got a technique. So I have a different perspective on this. So I'll share some of my insights as well from the work that I do. So I think that the mind chatter is actually external and isn't really us. It's something external, which is actually um, I think there's a loosh system, and I think there are multidimensional beings who feed on our emotional energy, and so say things which are triggering and upsetting to us so that they get a foodstuff. So what I can actually do is put a force field around people so that their mind goes instantly quiet.
Oh, well, there you go. If everybody can have access to that, that's one, but
I
way
can,
two.
I mean, I can show you now if you'd like to see
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
Yeah, and then people can follow along, and then they've got two different options, don't they? So this is me putting a force field in between you and your thoughts, because I think we're not our minds. I think that our thoughts are external, and it's literally a force field between you and something external, and then your mind just goes quiet. Well, within a few seconds,
Well,
it's
I
it's
will
quiet.
say that's exactly in alignment with the meditation philosophy that has stood the test of time. We are not our minds. We are not
No,
our body. And
no.
those thoughts are external. They're not you because guess what? You're observing them. So
Yes.
they
So
can't be you.
I think the way that the reason that meditation and yoga and all these
Mhm.
other spiritual practices actually work really well is I think that it puts more light into your system. You
Yeah,
actually end up filled up with more light, and these external things which are feeding on your self-deprecating thoughts intrinsically, a lot of it is like you're not enough, you're bad at something. It's sort of this really sort of internal bullying of ourselves by
it
ourselves
is.
or by these different things, saying that you're rubbish in some particular way. So I think the more light you have within you, the more work you've done on yourself, the more traumas you've released, or whichever way you're doing it, but becoming more calm internally means that you're less of a good food source, so that they then can't come in and infiltrate into you, because they look at someone who's very calm and very at peace within themselves, and they're just like, it's a meager meal compared to somebody who's very anxious or very depressed, or someone who's in an emotional unnerved state in some way, or unhappy state in some way, and they've got all of these trigger points or bullseyes on them. So if they go and trigger that person, then suddenly they get very upset very quickly, and it's easy for them to anger, and so they become a better meal than somebody else who can sort of shake a lot of things off much more easily.
Yeah, these practices truly strengthen you. As you said, that light within, strengthen that light, kindle that fire within. And there's a neuroscience explanation behind exactly what you just said too, is that those negative thoughts, right? They're almost easier to go to. And it's because that's how our brain is wired. That's how our brain evolved and developed to be, was to constantly scan the environment for
Mm.
negative, to look for what could possibly threaten us and our species and our family. And so we're constantly scanning and looking for that. And that's where we get really worried. We start to worry about both the past and the future, right? Ruminate about the past. I wonder, why did I say that? What happened? And then worry about the future. Am I going to be able to have enough, right? We are in this
Mm.
scarcity mindset because our brain is trying to keep us safe ultimately.
I don't agree with that. I really do think it's these external beings who are feeding on us. And I think that they will just trigger us to get food. It's literally, that's my view. So I can, yeah, I think that's why we're ruminating on things which happened such a long time ago. That's kind of useless to us now, apart from if it's a food source.
Mhm.
All right. Shall I show you? Do you have any chatter in your mind, or is it just completely silent? Do you live in
Well,
walking
now I
meditation?
do.
Oh, you do now. You do now.
Yes.
I live in walking meditation as well, but it's come from a different angle entirely. Because I used to have a very noisy monkey mind, like I was in Grand Central Station or something, and it was just
Yeah.
all these different conversations, and it's almost like there's slightly different voices. If you really listen in, you can hear that it's different voices coming in, almost like male voices, female voices, different things like that. And then one day, out of nowhere, my internal monologue shut down entirely overnight. It and literally shut down in seconds. And it was actually very painful to read. So what used to happen when I would read is I would have a shooting pain that goes from the base of my spine into the base of my head, and it would be like an electric shock. It was pretty painful. So if I wanted to do anything like read, I'd have to read out loud, but I couldn't think internally at all. So if I wanted to make a cup of tea, I'd have to say out loud, make the cup of tea, look left, look right when crossing a road. I had zero internal monologue. Even if I drank a lot of coffee, I had zero internal
Sounds
monologue for about 2 months.
it
Yeah,
sounds
and
like
then it
enlightenment. So, it's 2 months, but then it came back, and, like, now what
no,
is it like?
yeah, it's so I was silent, absolutely
Mhm.
silent for about 2 months. And I mean, to the point where I was thinking I dosed myself up on coffee, when a coffee obviously makes people have anxiety or think a lot or race their minds. So I took a lot of coffee just to see if it would still be quiet. And I sat and I meditated and I was absolutely silent in my mind. And then it started after 2, maybe 3 months to come back very slowly. And then now my thoughts are pretty much, they are structured thoughts. Like it's about building things, thinking about things. The self-deprecating chatter I don't have. I live in walking meditation like all the time.
Mhm.
So I
And
can hear
that's the intention.
divinity and guidance, and I can hear my own thoughts. But if I'm not doing anything or not trying to think about anything, there's no chatter in my mind or whatsoever. It's silent.
Alright, well, send me a force field, let's try it.
Let's give it a go. But if your mind's not quiet now, then you may not notice. But anyone who's watching this later, just please let us know in the comments how this works for you. But if you have nothing in your mind, then because it's most people have got some sort of murmur, there's some sort of noise in their mind to some degree. Or obviously, people with anxiety or depression have a lot of chatter. But I can just make it quiet. So, but because you're already sort of there, it sounds like, then maybe it's not going to make a difference to you. But we'll see. See
Oh,
what
you mean
happens.
because I'm already quiet right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you silent?
I said I'm not quiet right now. I said I'm
I
thrown for a
misheard you.
loop and my mind is racing. This is very different than, so I'm not quiet right now.
Oh, good, good,
So
because it wouldn't work if
yes,
you
this
were.
is a
So I'm
great opportunity.
perfect. So just shut your eyes, and everybody watching at home, just shut your eyes, and I'm just going to put a force field between you and your thoughts, and then we'll see how it is. Alrighty. Okay, the force field up. I just invite you to just stay there for a few moments and notice your mind's chatter. How's that feeling, Anne?
Well, it felt good to have a little pause. So, yeah, I
Does it
feel
feel
relaxed.
quiet now? Your mind, is there less chatter now? Is it the loop stopped?
Yeah. It's so powerful what a powerful pause can do for you. Yeah, I feel better.
Yeah. But it should just be no chatter at all. Your mind should just be quiet right now.
I definitely hear the chatter of all the birds. I don't know if you can
Sure,
hear
but
them in my
it's
mic.
your own internal chatter. Bird chatter is a wonderful thing. That's bird song. That's an amazing thing.
Right.
Uh, but just, any self-deprecating thoughts should be now quiet. Do you see the difference or not really, or
Well,
were they
I
not there?
didn't have any self-deprecating thoughts before,
But
so I didn't
you
have
had a
that
loop.
going on. Huh?
You had a loop, you said. What was the loop? Is that quieter now?
Yeah, I was thrown for a loop because you said you wanted me to talk about neuroscience, and then you said, "I don't
Oh.
believe that." So I was kind of thrown for a loop because it's a different interview than I've done before. So, it was good to have this, like, really
No, I
nice
believe in
talk.
neuroscience. I just think that there's
Yeah.
something, an addition, which is probably causing it. I'm always trying to find almost the thing behind that. What is causing that? I'm sure that those are the effects which happen in the neuroscience, absolutely. But why? That's what I'm always looking through, is that what's behind that? What's behind the door? What is causing us to actually have that experience? That's why.
Yeah, and humans are always seeking that further why and that meaning
Mm.
and that purpose, and I think that's what taking powerful pauses does for us is it helps us to understand our personal why and the reasonings, and connection, so
Wonderful. So what other meditations have you got? You said you've got them for different situations. What's like a
yeah.
wake up meditation?
Oh, a wake-up meditation. That
Yeah.
I love how you gave the example of walking earlier, that you're in a constant walking meditation. A lot of people feel
Mm.
like, "Oh, I can't meditate because I can't sit. I can't just be still for that time." But I love walking meditation, and I do it every
Mm.
single morning. So, I will go in my backyard, and in the grass, I'll be barefoot and I'll walk, and that's gonna add some extra benefits. I mean, intuitively, we know it feels good to be barefoot, right? It feels good to be in connection with nature, but the
Mm.
research also shows that this is going to lower inflammation, anxiety, depression, even our blood sugar spikes lower when we're in physical contact with the earth. Scientists call it earthing or
Mhm.
grounding. So we're going to enhance the meditation by being barefoot and walking as I do it as the sun is rising. So I see that light of the sunrise, which there's more blues in the lights of the sunrise. So that allows your eyes to calibrate to the daylight and you release specific hormones to wake you up. And this is all
Mm.
intuitive, right? Doesn't it feel good to go see the sunrise? So
Of
it's
course.
going to bring you into this more awake state by releasing some cortisol, a good healthy level of cortisol. We want it to be high in the morning and lower your
Mm.
melatonin so you're not going to be sleepy anymore. And so you can be more focused. And then as I walk, I just walk. I have a small backyard. So I just walk pacing, around the trees. And as I walk, I use a cue from Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a meditation teacher that really emphasize walking meditation. And I love this cue. So you walk as if you're the happiest person on earth. And it's a thought experiment.
Beautiful.
You just walk as if you were. And so you are changing your posture, you're noticing the birds, what would the happiest person be thinking about? Well, they wouldn't be thinking about that email that they're stressed out about, would they? They'd be in this
Sure.
moment, right? So I'll do that walking meditation every morning as the sun is rising and maybe I'll do some other movement practices too after I've gotten that in. But that's one way that I really like to wake up.
Mm. That's beautiful. What about getting to sleep? How does one get to sleep then?
Oh,
That's an
yes.
important one.
Getting to sleep, winding down. I mean, we know a wind down routine is really important. I actually have more trouble, and I think a lot of my clients and the people I speak to, it's not the getting to sleep, it's the when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
I have a technique for that I'd like to share. And on getting to sleep, I
Mm.
really love a yoga nidra, which is a guided meditation you can listen to and you'll fall asleep to it. You end up going into delta brain waves during the meditation, even when you're awake during it. So it puts you into that deep sleep state. But many of us can get to sleep. It's the when we wake up in the middle of the night and our mind maybe is racing. Sometimes my mind's not racing. Sometimes I'm just like, I can't sleep. I don't know why. So, in that moment, I do the down meditation. So, all you have to remember is down. And there's a bunch of cues. We can kind of do it right now,
Mm.
but you don't have to memorize all these cues. Whichever ones you notice work well for you, you can use those in the middle of the night. And whatever you remember is totally fine. So the first thing is, if you're trying to fall back asleep is lying down and getting comfortable. But here, maybe you want to sit down to do this. And then you're going to bring your breath down. And what I mean by that is allow your abdomen to move with your breath. Allow that nice, relaxed, slow breathing. Slow the breath down. You're welcome to close your eyes if it's safe and comfortable to do so. And allow your energy to settle down little by little, kind of like a snow globe all shaken up and the snow settling down, breath by breath. Your body releases down into the surface, supporting you. And now we'll scan down from head to toe. So be aware of your head, neck, shoulders, arms, hands, torso, pelvis, thighs, knees, lower legs, ankles, and feet. Feel the soles of your feet. And now we'll count down. At night, I do from 100. Right now, we'll just do five. So you'll inhale and exhale. That's five. Your next inhale and exhale is four. Continue counting till you get to one. And notice how you feel. I've actually never made it to one before when counting down at night. I'll either fall asleep or my mind will wander. And I'm like,
Mm.
wait, I've lost count. Guess what happens when you lose count? You have to start back over at 100.
Darn it.
Yes. So if you start to like drift off and then you come back, you start back over. And there's another
Mm.
evidence-based technique that you can do that in this down meditation my last resort is I will walk down a path I typically follow. So think of a walk you do. I said I do my backyard, but if you have a walk through your neighborhood or maybe you walk to work, a walk that you do most every day or quite often that you know really well. So in research studies, they have people doing, counting sheep and all the different things. We don't count sheep,
Mm.
we count our breath here, right? But you this particular technique was one of the most effective. Just literally walk in your head, imagine you're in that location and walking and doing your normal thing. You end up falling
Mm.
asleep. It's so procedural, it's so normal and comfortable for you that you end up falling asleep. So that's another technique where you can walk down a normal path that you typically walk.
Wonderful. Can we see your beautiful book?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a hardcover. It's like perfect
Mm.
size. I just love what DK does. The colors are gorgeous. This actually shows the cycle of meditation and how mind wandering is a critical part of it. And
Yeah.
we have the science that is explained throughout the book, as well as the tradition. And there's like little pictures to help you relax. I just find the colors so relaxing. This particular picture is a guy, he's doing a walk through the woods, but he sat down on a bench to do his earthing or grounding. So those little moments where we integrate the science and honestly the tradition and intuition. We know it feels good to be barefoot, but it's so cool to know that there's evidence to support this, and we can, enhance our meditation, enhance our lives by taking our shoes off. Something so simple.
Amazing. What about your other book as well, Science of Yoga? Can we see that one as well, please?
Yeah, so Science of Yoga is my first book, and it breaks down how yoga affects every single system of your body, not just the muscles and bones, but every system. And I worked with some of the best illustrators and designers in the world. And then we break down 30 different poses, how to do them, and what's going on under your skin when you're doing them.
Mm.
So we had some really cutting edge technology, CGI technology to create these. And so it's really a book that you can, if you're interested in science and the practice of yoga, you could put it on your yoga mat and it can inspire your practice. One of my favorite parts of the book is actually the Q&As at the end, which are common questions. Oh, look what I just opened to about the brain waves and the brain
Amazing.
wave changes during meditation and how we can go into those delta brain waves, that deep sleep brain wave.
Mhm.
So the common questions that I get about yoga, why do my joints pop? And
Why
what's
do
going
joints
on in
pop?
my
Pop
brain?
then? What's the answer to that?
That's a good one. Let's see what I got here. So I usually can pop mine. Let's see. Okay. Only my
So
right hand I can
cracking
pop.
knuckles, you mean? Yeah, cracking knuckles.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. But also
Yeah.
there's another type of joint popping, right? Like if I roll my shoulders and neck, every time I roll my shoulders and neck, it crackles, right? Do you get that too? Every time. It doesn't go away. So those are different reasons. Say you have a pop in your hip and every time you move like that, it pops over and over. My knuckles, I can't crack them again for another 20 minutes. So there's multiple reasons why your joints may pop. So let's talk
Don't
first
believe it.
the cracking that's over and over, like in your neck, your shoulders, your hip, whatever, that one that continues and doesn't stop, doesn't have that pause like the knuckles have. So in our bones, I'm looking around to see what I have to demonstrate this. So say you have like a bone and we have these little parts that stick off on the bones that are attachment points for muscles and for ligaments. So maybe you have a tendon or ligament over it and it pops over it, over and over and over and over. That's why it continues to do that, because every time you move like that, it's just going to pop over it little by little. And so that type of popping, I mean, it's not like bad for you as long as it doesn't hurt. If you're every time you walk
Mm.
up the stairs, it pops a little bit. It's not bad, but you don't want to just be. I had this kid in second grade. He used to just pop over and over and over the whole class. It was maddening. You don't want to do that because over time you would cause arthritis, right? You'd cause some joint damage if you just did it over and over and over and over again, constantly as
Right.
a obsessive thing. And what it probably means is you need to strengthen. Like my neck really needs to strengthen, and that's what I work on and focus on because I have all that little tiny popping. You need to strengthen. Now when it's your hand like that or some other part of your body where you feel like you need to pop it, maybe your back and you pop and then it stops and you can't do it again, right? Just that one time. What we used to think of that was in the fluid around the joints, that was a popping of a bubble inside that fluid, in the synovial fluid. Now we know, because we've zoomed in and done like fancy active MRI scans of it, we know it's not the popping of the bubble. It's actually the pressure that's created by that new shape that you just created in the joint, the pressure in the fluid there that makes the CO2 and the other dissolved gases turn into gas. So it's the formation of a bubble, not the popping of a bubble, is the sound we hear, which is kind of crazy. It's like a plop, like a creation of a bubble.
What
And the
was it
reason
before? Sorry, but Creation from what to a bubble? I don't quite. I
From
missed that one.
like CO2 can be in a dissolved liquid in the synovial fluid, and it now the pressure turned it into its gaseous state. So that's
Okay.
why it's a bubble. So this bubble now, in order to have another pop, all that CO2 has turned into a bubble. In order to pop again, it's got to dissolve back into the liquid. So it takes about 20 minutes for most people for those gaseous states to go back into their liquid state, and then you can pop again. So if I did this in the beginning of our interview, I could do it again at the end of our interview.
Hmm.
That's when it has to do with the synovial fluid. And so they've done some research where they are looking, does that cause arthritis? That's the old wives' tale that popping your knuckles is going to cause arthritis.
I've heard
And
it.
they found it doesn't seem to.
Oh,
One
good.
thing it does seem to do is make your joints a little bigger, but doesn't seem to cause arthritis. This one researcher, he got an Ig Nobel Prize, which is kind of like a silly Nobel Prize, for popping the fingers of one hand every single day for over 50 years. And the other hand he never popped, which is basically what I'm doing because this hand won't pop. And he did not have arthritis in the hand he popped. I mean, obviously, it's a very small study. He didn't have any negative effects, but we do have some other research that suggests it's not really bad for you if you enjoy popping your back or your fingers or whatever it may be, or if it happens
So
naturally.
why doesn't it happen then? If you can do one hand and not the other, what's the reasoning behind one doing it and the other not? Do we know?
I think I just did it when I was younger and got it loosened to be able to create that gaseous form, like, to create that pressure. And I didn't do it on
Oh,
my
yeah.
other hand. So my other hand isn't as mobile either. So I think that's probably why for me that it does it on one side versus the other. But we all have differences between our left and right side of our body just naturally. So you might notice, oh, my right hip always pops, but my left doesn't. That's just completely natural.
Wonderful. Okay, so anything else you'd like to share with the audience, my dear?
That's it. If you want to try meditation, learn about both books, Meditation for the Real World and Science of Yoga, go to meditationfortherealworld.com.
Wonderful. Any final words of wisdom?
Well, thank you so much for having me on
Thank
the
you.
show. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the different conversation that we had.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Anne, and thank you everyone for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.